Hello, everyone, and welcome to Walkin' 90. I am Kyle Carr. I'm doing hosting for reasons because Yogi decided to go to the Dominican Republic and sit by a pool, just completely neglecting the main duties. But I am thankfully joined by the head coach and sporting director of Northern Colorado FC, Eamon Zayed. How's it going?
Yeah, things are good. Things are good. Obviously, coming off the back of last week, it was a decent week. Obviously, the most important game, because it was a one-off playoff game, was obviously that game on Wednesday in the semi-final Jaegermeister Cup against Omaha. It mightn't have been the nicest or prettiest game to watch. It was a bit cagey in the first half, but I said before the game, I think we all agreed we didn't really care how we did it as long as we found a way to win the game and get to the final, which we did, and we ended up, you know, playing better in the second half and scoring the goals that we needed to score to get through. So, yeah, Wednesday was fantastic. First final, obviously, in Northern Colorado Hailstorm history, and obviously Madison's as well. So congratulations to Madison. They've been really, really strong throughout the year and throughout the competition as well. So I think it's a worthy final between ourselves and Madison. Obviously, that's something to look forward to. We had to park the bus there kind of on a Thursday, Friday, because we played against Omaha again on Saturday. And yeah, look, it wasn't our best performance. I felt we really weren't at it in the first half at all. Omaha came out with almost like a point to prove, like they wanted to win it, and they definitely looked hungrier in the first half. And I don't say that many times about our team, that when we play against a team, the other team looks a little bit more hungry or motivated, but they did. And they got obviously the goal in the first half on Saturday, to go one up at half time. Second half was a lot more even. I thought we came back into it, and I thought from an attacking standpoint, I thought we were really good in the second half. Scored a couple of goals, but yeah, we it wasn't our night. And Omaha, obviously, Lagas Kunga comes on and absolutely does wonders. I call it bad defending, but it was fantastic from Lagas Kunga to get those two individual goals. And overall, I'll be honest, Omaha deserved it. They deserved to pick up the 3 points last Saturday. So you're asking me how I am. I'm good. Really happy to be in a final. We're in a decent enough position in the league. Obviously, it's quite tight. I'd like to be a couple more points to the good. But there's still a lot of games to play, and I think we have 6 games left, 4 games at home. So yeah, we'll see where we end up, but hopeful that we can climb into the home playoff bracket.
Yeah, I was going to say it's definitely interesting because you go from playing Omaha, you have that Wednesday, you get the big win to get yourself to the final, and then you kind of have to turn around and not only play on Saturday, but you have to
Yeah.
play them again. I know you mentioned like they were more hungry in the first half and wanted a point to prove. Did you think going in, how do you try and adjust or plan playing an opponent that quickly, especially after the big high from the earlier that week?
Yeah, like I obviously we tried to remain as within our group. We trained on Thursday, did a recovery session, and then Friday it was all about Omaha. Yeah, I don't know why we weren't quite at it. I mean, I can't. There's no excuses. It was our third game in a week, but it was almost fourth game in 11 days. They had a couple of players missing. Yeah, it's difficult to play a team obviously twice in the space of a couple of days. It's our fifth time playing Omaha as well. Omaha are a quality team, like they're the champions. They won the Players' Shield last year. They were the best team in the league last year, and this year they're top of the table again. So look, they're a quality team, and you got to go out and be at it 100%. You can't drop your levels. You can't drop below 90% or anything like that, because if you do, Omaha will beat you. And as I said, Omaha deserved to beat us on the night. We just weren't good enough. And I don't really know what went wrong. I can just look at the goals, to be honest, and they were really uncharacteristic of us to give away. Prior to the game on Saturday, I think we went on a 10-11 game stretch where we only conceded 5 goals altogether, and We hadn't conceded multiple goals in a game in 10 or 11 games. So it was uncharacteristic of us to give up obviously 3 goals, but then kind of a couple of them goals were, yes, obviously great play from Kunga, but I feel like it was just poor defending from us and not really like us. So I guess I always say you win or you learn, and there's, we got to learn from that game. If we show up and aren't at it, or even close to being at it, we'll get beat. And it doesn't matter who you're playing against, but especially if you're playing against the best team in the league, champions and first in the league at the moment. So, there was a lesson to be learned there in terms of we can't defend like that. If we do, we're giving ourselves an uphill battle, to be honest. And also on the goals, if we fought to get back into the game, and then 60 seconds later you concede, and you're like, okay, that's not ideal, and we fight and we get a second goal, and then 90 seconds, 2 minutes later, deja vu, we give away a sloppy goal. So no, we got what we deserved. We didn't deserve anything from the game, I didn't feel. But we got to learn from it and move on and make sure that doesn't happen again.
Yeah, I was going to say, you got another match coming up this weekend. You're going to be playing Chattanooga. And one of the things, obviously, you have the game on Saturday, but then you have the final on the 28th, which we'll touch on later. But how do you make sure that you keep your team focused? Like, yes, you have this final coming up, and you're obviously looking forward to that, but you still have the league. As you mentioned, it is quite tight near the table. I mean, you're sitting in 7th, so you're comfortably in the playoff spot, but a win could get you right back into the battle, not just the Shield, but also home playoff. So how do you try and keep the team focused, knowing that there's, I don't want to say a bigger game, but knowing you have a final coming up?
Well, there's a couple of ways you can look at it. I'll say this: the group of guys that I have, the team, they've been brilliant, and we've been showing up, whether it's league or Jaegermeister Cup. I haven't really thought about what we were playing. We just kind of showed up and did our job and tried to perform the best we could in that game. So for the most part, there's no issue with the guys. The guys are very self-motivated. I mean, in training, they compete every single day to win whatever we're putting on. So I don't feel like there's going to be an issue. We obviously wanted to do well in this Jaegermeister Cup, but the league is the bread and butter, and trying to obviously qualify for the playoffs and give yourself the best possible opportunity to go and host the game and get through. So I think the guys will be okay. But if for whatever reason they need a little bit of motivation or something extra to get up for this game, it's quite simple. There's places on the line for that final. I'm a coach who I don't have any favorites on the team. I try to be fair to everybody, and if people perform, and obviously in training, but also in games, which is most important, I usually reward them, and they start the next game. I don't know what team I'm going to put out against Chattanooga, but whatever team I do put out against Chattanooga, there's places on the line for the final. You want to perform in that game, and going into the following week against Madison. So I think the guys will be motivated. It's an opportunity as well. We play Chattanooga at home. Listen, it's going to be a difficult game. We did beat them earlier in the year, so we'd like to beat them. And then there's a couple of games after the Madison game in the league, and again, I hate looking too far ahead, but we do have Fuego coming up and Tormenta coming up at home. Teams that are obviously battling below us. So nothing is guaranteed, but there's opportunities there to maybe get into those home playoff spots. Omaha play Knoxville, and Charlotte have to go away to Tormenta, and there's a couple of other. Matt, you guys play Spokane, don't you?
Yep, Madison will hold Spokane.
And then following that, you have us, then you have Knoxville away, then you have Charlotte away in the league. So we need to just make sure that we're looking after business. And if we do, I feel like, hopefully in 3 more games, 4 more games, we're looking at a home playoff spot. And then we'll see where we are.
Yeah. And moving forward with the Jaegermeister Cup, you guys have been the only team to not lose at all. during this competition. You've also scored the most goals with 22, which was 6 higher than the second place, which was Omaha, while also only conceding 10 goals. So it's, I guess the biggest thing is, what about the Jaegermeister Cup have you, like, what has been the secret, or what's been the key for you guys to basically be such a dominant team in this competition?
Yeah, I've been asked this a few times. Honestly, there's no secret. And I mean this 100%. Like, our schedule at the start of the season was quite light. Every game we played was away from home. The first, I don't know, 8-9 games, whatever it was. So, and it was quite spread out. We only had one game a week. So we were able to take every game as an individual game, whether it was the league or the Jaegermeister Cup. So in that regard, you know, ourselves, we went out 100% in every game. You know, looking at the Jaegermeister Cup, I think it's brilliant. Honestly, I wasn't sure at the start of the season how it was going to go, but I think it's brilliant. I think it's really good how it's gone this year. And every team, it's funny when you look at the teams, they approach it different. Some teams started off with the strongest team, and then as the competition went on, and maybe they felt they weren't going to get to that number one spot, they tinkered a little bit with their squad and gave some guys opportunities. Then you had the opposite. I think Omaha has an example where they started in the competition. Now, they had multiple games in between, but they started with a potentially a weaker starting 11, not their usual starting 11. Knew who was rested for the first, I don't know how many games, for example. And then as the competition went on and they felt, hold on, we can maybe clinch first place, or we can definitely clinch the wild card spot, they played a stronger squad. So it was interesting to see how teams kind of lined up in the Jaegermeister Cup. But honestly, overall, there was no secret sauce or anything like that. We approached every game, whether it was league or Jaegermeister Cup, the exact same. I think it just worked out the way it did, where we got through the group stage without losing. Obviously in the semi-final we took care of business. So listen, it would be great to go into the final and win it and beat a team that didn't lose at all in the competition. But on the flip side, it would be a nightmare to kind of disappointing to go through the whole competition, 9 games so far, and not losing, and then obviously losing on that last final hurdle. So we'll see.
Yeah, it's definitely it would be difficult. It's like, you don't want to lose, and you definitely don't want to lose when you're that close. So, speaking of the final, it's going to be on Saturday, September 28th. Northern Colorado will be hosting Forward Madison FC. And I guess one of the things is, you played Madison earlier in the season. You were the first team to beat them at Breeze Stevens Field. Obviously, this match will be at your domain. So I guess, what has been the biggest thing that stood out to Madison in your opinion? Whether, I know earlier we were talking about how they've just been having pretty good form. So for you, it's like, what are some things that you've noticed, and what are some things you learned from the first meeting between you and Madison?
Well, I think if you take Madison as a whole this year, I think they've improved upon their squad in depth. Let's say is much stronger this season than it was last season. They obviously brought back their core and their strongest players from last season's squad for the most part, and then they added the quality and options as well off the bench. I mean, obviously Delindres came in alongside Cheney, but then they got McLaughlin in the summer just to add another piece up top if they needed. On the wing,
I think you're muted.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes.
Sorry, apologies. I think I muted myself by accident.
That's fine. We'll splice it together. So.
No, but like they've added a lot of quality, and then Wolfgang Prentice, who I had him in 2022 here on loan, and he was a breath of fresh air for the second half of the season. Now he started to get his place on the left side and score goals and produce assists, and he causes havoc on that left side. So I think the strength overall for Madison is one of the strongest in the league. You can make an argument it's the strongest in the league in terms of the depth that they have. So that's the first thing I think that made them a lot stronger this year. The options that they